Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was going to say, Joe, you know what it is? The pressure.
Yeah.
The pressure. I mean, to me, I felt today was very. We saw the pressure get to Red Bull, right? Very, very damaging week, in my opinion, for Red Bull. I think they had a lot of confidence going into this race because they could see that the Mercedes, was on the back foot, obviously not performing well this week, right? They would have been quite confident that they're going to get they're probably confident that they get a win today because Max is the champion and, they'll get some positive results. And as it's turned out, they've got no points. And not only that, you have to remember as well, the AlphaTauri, that's a Red Bull really car as well, Red Bull's sister car, that didn't finish either. So there's something wrong there. They haven't got long to get it right either because the next race is going to be next week in Saudi Arabia. And the way Max was losing it, to me, that just sort of showed me that already the pressure's on. Because I looked on it and I said to myself, it's just completely gone, not the way they thought. They didn't think that, Lewis Hamilton's come away with a podium in a race that he shouldn't have got nowhere near, right? The Mercedes, third and fourth.
Yeah.
And the Red Bull, both Red Bulls out of the race. They probably, all right, Ted Kravitz might have said that, but they're going to have to work and find exactly what is up with that car. They haven't got a long time to do it, as I said, because the next race is, you could say
less than a week away.
Under a week. By the time they fly, get all the stuff over to Saudi Arabia, start looking at it, they're really up against time. And one of the things about Red Bull last season, it was the reliability. That car never broke down last year. First race, both cars out right at the end. That's gonna, a bit of mind. It's gonna be playing on your mind now, isn't it? It's gonna be playing on Max's mind. I think the pressure of there's still a lot of people, me myself included, who are still looking at it and say, you know what, you ain't really the champion. As far as I'm concerned, I still think that last season there's still an asterisk for me. So for me, if I'm Max Verstappen, I'm saying to myself, I'm going to do this year? I'm going to show everybody that I'm going to win this clean. But he's off to a terrible start in that, and hence the frustration. And I'll tell you what, today he's going to make
long may it continue.
It's going to make the season really, really interesting. And, Lewis Hamilton, apart from obviously Ferrari today, obviously the Ferraris are that, but I think that Lewis Hamilton and Toto Wolff are the big winners of today because they had a pretty crap car and they've come out with a podium. They've got points and Red Bull have got none. And I think they're going to have a big smile on their face tonight.
Yep.
I just want to ask you a quick question on that, Robbie. So you mentioned that obviously Max, is a fake champion. I fully agree with you. He's got an asterisk next to his name. I don't.
It's an asterisk, man.
I don't acknowledge that championship in any way, shape, or form. Just on Max's performance today, would you say that he showed hallmarks of what you would consider a champion compared to champions of yesteryear? Because it sounded like he was stressed on the radio. He was complaining. He was arguing with his engineer. He was really hot-headed with his driving against Leclerc.
Yeah, he kind of does that anyway, doesn't he? To be fair, he is a bit of a complainer. So is Lewis. You know what I mean? These guys, they'll, a lot of these drivers, when they ain't really working out, they do blame the guys back in the pits a lot. But today he was losing it a lot, and I think even more than I would have thought. And I think now a lot of that was like, obviously you're gonna be frustrated. It's right near the end of the race, and now you're realizing that there's a mega problem. And as I said, he didn't have that last year. Last year, that car was so reliable, right? And all of a sudden now, there's issues of reliability. And, as I said, he coming into this race now, he's thinking to him, the car's been looking good all weekend. Christian Horner had a little bit of a smug smile on his face going into this race. All of that's been wiped off. And the asterisk is still there. It's going to be in the minds of many people that, all right, you're the champion, but let's see if you can really show us you're the champion this year. and he's off to a terrible start. Now, listen, it's still we all know there's loads of races in a season. You know, there's a lot of times cars. You know, Lewis Hamilton didn't get off to a great start last year. You know, he came back. You know, what I mean, there's a long way to go, and Red Bull are a top team. Verstappen's a top driver, but if you're now getting Leclerc into the mix and Hamilton, and I think George Russell, who, by the way, you know, he's going to be a lot better than Bottas. Look, even today, he bought it home.
I disagree, Robbie.
You don't think he's going to be better than Bottas?
Nah.
He already showed me today, right? He was ninth. He came in fourth place, right? So
I mean, being better than Bottas is like saying, it's like just saying like, can you be better than not a Norwich? It's the bare minimum, isn't it?
No, hold on. Bottas last year was useless. I think Bottas
was useless last year.
I think. Sorry, Martz. I think Bottas cost Lewis the championship last year. He was so poor. Every time he was supposed to, you know, Lewis would be on pole. He'd be ninth or something like that, or 10th, and then you know he just was never there to help cover off certain things. But I think as a driving partner, I think Russell's going to be better, that will help Lewis a lot. And you saw Sainz as well today coming in second. He drove really well as well. You didn't see that enough with Bottas last year. I mean, he was so shaky.
I feel like with Bottas, if you take out last season, Bottas has been a good partner for Lewis in previous years. He's been there more abouts. He's been there. I feel like last year he kind of knew his time was done, and I think that just took him out of it mentally. So he just was nowhere to be seen. And then when he got his Alpha deal, he probably came back a bit. George, listen, George has some talent. He has talent there. I can see the talent, but the only thing this guy's ever shown me is he's good at qualifying. And I feel like
the guy was driving the worst car on the track, right, and still getting.
But he
the
never
best
showed
out
anything during races.
Right?
He never showed anything during races.
Remember when he drove the Mercedes, right? He's the first time the guy's ever driving it. He's driving it better than Bottas.
Yeah, but that's that track was 4 corners, and it was just like you're in a W11, the greatest car to ever be built, basically.
No.
It's not big.
I think you're disrespecting him there, because to me, he came in cold in a race. Remember, he just at the last minute they brought him into driving that race, and I personally, without no evidence, but I personally think they said, "Yo, don't embarrass Bottas." The next day, why he didn't just win that? That's my opinion. I'm serious. I think he's going to be a better partner than what Bottas was last year, for sure. He's going to be a better partner for Lewis Hamilton, and that might help Lewis Hamilton, you know, this year in the chapter. I do think that Mercedes car will improve. It will get better. And as I was, you know, just sort of going back to what I was saying, this has been a bad weekend for Red Bull because, you know, they're off to a terrible start. They're off to a terrible start.
Merckx
I don't think Mercedes have to really
advantage over them.
Yeah, I said I don't think Mercedes have to improve it that much either. I think this year is going to be a Lewis carry job anyway. So if you can improve the car by 10% or 20%, I think with Lewis, the talent that he is, the GOAT he is, he'll be able to fight for a championship in whatever they give him, as long as they improve it and remove some of the drag that's probably hitting the tires and stuff. But yeah, I don't think they need an equal power unit to the Ferraris or the Red Bulls. But just get something where Lewis gives Lewis a fighting chance, basically, because you saw it. He was keeping up with Perez and Sainz today in that shit box today. So it was. We know what you can do, man. It's
going to be. Listen, I'm excited after today because I do think Ferrari are going to be a major player this season. It's great to see them back and performing well. And as I said, you know what I mean, having experienced that, you know what I mean, being at Monza in Italy, the way that whole country is behind that team, that the fans that Ferrari have, right? It's only good for.
It's only going to grow. It's only going to grow.
It's only good for the sport. Like Ferrari are like My partner, we were doing the watch along today. He describes him as being like Man United in football. In the they're recognized as the biggest, but they've just been rubbish for a lot of years. But I think today, they've shown, leading up to the season and today, and the fact that they've got good drivers in, Leclerc and Sainz, that they're back. They're definitely back. And it's going to be a really interesting this season because, I think Leclerc is a very, very talented driver. And, he's going to give both Lewis and Max Verstappen a run for their money. And I think the realization hit Max today. He's kind of had, a couple of months of living it up and everyone's bigging him up and, you're the champion. But now reality's hit him a bit today. It's not going to be plain sailing. And as I said, even for Christian Horner, that's a bit embarrassing. That car's been so reliable. And then all of a sudden, none, I looked at the AlphaTauri as well. I'm like, does this run a bit deeper? What's up with it? What's up with the we haven't really seen that recently.
Yeah, and I think you've done a brilliant segue there because I know you need to head off soon, Robbie. But when it comes to driver of the day, we put a poll out straight after the race, and it was Leclerc. We might as well just touch on it now because I thought he drove a sterling race. So yeah, JL, talk me through Leclerc today and why he was rightly crowned the driver of the day.
It was just a great drive. It's like I'm not like the biggest boxing fan, but it's somebody who's keeping an opponent at arm's length. Anything Red Bull did, Ferrari had just enough to keep them at arm's length, and no mistakes. I think no lockups from first qualifying, fastest lap, won the race, led every lap bar the ones in which he was obviously in pit stop. So it's just a faultless drive, and I think for him as a person, it's a great confidence boost because we talk about his previous wins and that dodgy Ferrari. So to win one legitimately, I'm putting it on records, so it's on the internet, a legitimate win. You can't argue that. And I think, and the point I was mentioned before is what's going to make this season more interesting is not just Ferrari, but Ferrari power unit cars. I think have surprised a few teams, and it will be interesting because Mercedes will get better. Like, we know this, they will better get better, and you're going to have teams and cars such as the Haas, the Alfa Romeo, causing issues that I think will make this title very interesting. But Charles, faultless, driver of the day, no competition. However, honorable mention to Kevin Magnussen. Honestly,
come on to
to come out from the cold, just a solid drive, just solid. I have no idea if Friday was the first time he sat in that car. No idea. It wouldn't surprise me. Just faultless, just a faultless drive, and it's just good to see Haas in the mix again. Long may it continue with all the Ferrari powered cars.
Exactly that. I think with Leclerc, I've seen it right from the start of the weekend, especially in qualifying. I think I looked at his lap times compared to Sainz, and if you look at Leclerc in the braking zone, he's actually a bit more progressive with his braking, whereas Sainz is a bit more sharper with his brakes. And I think Leclerc analysed the data from Q2 into Q3, and he realised that once Sainz was quicker than him in Q2, he knew where he had to be a little bit more aggressive. So I think Leclerc's driving style is just fantastic, and I personally think it is better than Sainz because he was able to adapt it to that situation in Q3. He stuck it on pole, and to be honest with you, he held off Max from the start. He battled with Max. He got the better of Max 3 times. Even from a safety car restart, he knew exactly what he's doing, and he brought it home perfectly. Robbie, let's just have a quick word from you with your driver of the day. Of course, it's going to be Charles Leclerc. Before you head out and we continue the pod.
Yeah, Leclerc. Yeah, I mean, he was brilliant. as I said, faultless in all weekend, actually. Faultless all weekend. And, Verstappen tried and he just repelled him quite easily. And as I said, a really, really talented driver. And it was interesting that Martz was bigging up Magnussen then, and because similar thing to what George Russell did last year, innit? When he just came in out of the cold and was so brilliantly in that car.
You got me, Robbie. You got me. I'm just a hater. That's it.
The Chinese guy,
Guan Yu.
Yeah.
First drive, and he got points, and that was a brilliant drive as well. And what was interesting for me, guys, right, is I think it was JL, you just sort of pointed it out that these cars, the Alfa Romeo, the Haas, that Haas car last year was useless. All of a sudden, that's got the Ferrari sort of stuff in it, as power units and all that in it. Look how that performed. That's showing us
more closely with them, innit?
Yeah, that's showing us that Ferrari package is serious. Even the Haas that was so bad last year, all of a sudden getting points. So it's going to be, if they promise this season, hopefully it's going to kind of bring, the pack a bit closer together. Maybe we've seen a few little bit of signs of that from this first race, but it's the first race. Long, long way to go. But I think, Leclerc, you got to give it up for Lewis Hamilton as well. When you think about it, to all weekend, nowhere near, and still gets a podium. That was a brilliant drive as well. Even though he didn't do anything spectacular, all right, he's benefited from a little bit of luck because of what happened to the Red Bulls, but he got a podium. So, great drive for him. But, it was really enjoyable. I enjoyed the race today. I think the season's off to a good start. I think the new cars look nice. I like the look of the Ferrari as well. I think all round Ferrari's the winner this weekend. Best looking car, best driver with Leclerc, and a 1-2 on the podium. They're the winners by a mile this weekend.
That's just music to my ears, Robbie. That's music to my ears. My agenda is gonna hit perfectly. Thanks, Robbie.
I want to see. I'm a Lewis guy. I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, right? And I think Lewis is going to be there. And I do think Max will be, angry Max, as we know. He'll probably run Leclerc off the track the next race. But angry Max is good for the season as well. So I'm after this first race, I'm kind of rubbing my hands together and saying I can't wait for next weekend. I really can't.
I don't count out signs. You remember last time?
He's not close to
Leclerc. I'm sorry. Anik, remember what happened last season?
Yeah, because
he wasn't fifth.
Yeah,
and then he
but
jumped
that was
them in the final race.
Yeah, in the final race in Abu Dhabi, and we don't speak about Abu Dhabi.
Don't discount George Russell this season either. Can't believe George Russell.
He's not gonna be nowhere, man.
George Russell will get a podium this season. Martz, I'll be coming back to check you. He will be. George Russell will get a podium this season. I don't know.
Maybe at Monza, where it's only 4 corners long.
I met George Russell, a really nice kid, man. I like the guy. I like to, very humble. You know what I mean? So, I think he's really talented. I really do.
Yeah.
And I know that like all the guys at Williams were saying that he's really talented. And as I said, I think I could outpoint that Latifi as well. But you're right, he always outpointed him. And I think he's going to thrive. I think he's going to thrive at
I would say he only did this
Mercedes.
Because of a dodgy Spa race, though. Latifi had him last year.
Your Russell agenda, man.
Russell's got pace. Russell's got pace, Martz. You're going to see this season. He's got pace, and
I'll believe it when I see it.
Listen, he's another one of these crop of the new guys, isn't it? The Leclerc, Verstappen, Russell's going to be up there as well. You know what I mean? So they're the new guys coming through that are going to take over from like Lewis when I think once Lewis gets that 8th, So they're the guys going to take over from him, and it's going to be really exciting to see him this season. But Leclerc's serious. Well done to him today.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a lot, Robbie. I know you got to jump out.
No,
but
pleasure,
yeah,
man. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on, and yeah,
thanks for having me. You know what I mean? I'll try and come back on again in the future. You know what I mean? Especially when George Russell wins a race, I'm coming for Martz.
All right, that's it.
You won't see me.
Then.
I'll fly. You won't see me, bro.
Coming for you, Martz. Coming for you.
I'll be somewhere. I'll be somewhere in the middle of Serbia. Don't worry. You won't see me, man.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.